Whew. Welcome everyone. See the people pouring in. Up to how many we got? 23, 33, 35. I don't know if you guys can see how many people are here, but Josh and I can. Very exciting to have everyone here. Um, let me see if I can pin my video, and can we pin you as well? Yeah, there we go.
Good
Now we
evening and
have
welcome,
us.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we'll just going to give people a minute or two to filter in. Let me share my screen with oops. 1 second. Where is it?
And also, while we're waiting for the stragglers, why don't you tell us in the chat where you're joining us from tonight?
Yep. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Okay. What do we have? All sorts of places. Let's see. We got
Yep, got some
Boston. We got
fellow New Jersey folks. We've got a lot of folks from Texas,
New Jersey,
California.
California.
I see
Okay.
in Egypt. Nice.
Oh, nice. So Egypt is winning. America. Okay. That's very broad. I like it. Cincinnati. Nice. I was out there not too long ago. Maryland, Wisconsin.
Lake
Excellent.
Mills, Wisconsin. I love the proud
Yeah.
specificity.
Yeah. Markham. Nice. So many great places. And how about let's have a sort of more fun type question. What did you guys eat for breakfast this morning? Just let's hear what people ate for breakfast. Could you guys share that in the chat?
I had 2 scoops of cinnamon bun flavored whey protein.
Okay, wow, there's all sorts of things coming in. What I had, so I have this policy that I only reward myself with like a nice hot breakfast if I go to the masjid for Fajr. And so this morning, alhamdulillah, I was able to do that. So I had egg in a hole, which is sort of like bread with you put the egg inside and dip the bread pieces in. But all sorts of interesting things: turkey, bacon, and eggs, 3 boiled eggs, croissant with honey, chai and cookies. Nice. Wow, a lot of cookies and
Chocolate
cupcakes.
Greek yogurt with raspberries honey. That sounds delicious.
Wow. Yeah, that does sound really good. Protein yogurt bowl and banana bread. That sounds pretty good too. Did not have breakfast yet. Mashallah. The person who said that is actually uh, brother Amar. He works with us and he's been working all day. He's in Pakistan. It's now Fajr time, so
Nice.
he has not had breakfast yet. Mashallah. Um, sounds great. And then let me just there was one other question. Oh yeah, I wanted to launch a poll. Let me see if this is working. For some reason Zoom is there it goes. Polls. Um all right. We'll launch this and then we'll get into it. So if you guys could answer these questions, it's asking what best describes you, what grade you guys are in. It's always helpful for us to get a sense of who is here. Are you students? Are you parents? Where are you based? So you should see that poll coming up. And then we are going to get into the meat of what we are talking about today. And back to sharing my screen.
Yeah. I can definitely understand running and having not having time for breakfast yet. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you've got to feed your body as well as your mind and soul.
uh, and Josh, actually, I know this is a weird way to start, but you were telling me yesterday that you're doing currently a crazy, since we're on the topic of eating and whatnot. What can you talk a little bit about what you're doing there?
Absolutely. I'm doing a weight loss competition through my gym. Edge Total Fitness, and sort of all their gyms across the East Coast are doing an 8 week contest where whoever loses the highest percentage of their body weight in 8 weeks wins $5,000. So yes, the $5,000 would be nice, but even more so, it's a chance to, in this sphere of life, in my health and my fitness, exercise a unique and singular level of discipline, and then see how I can apply that to other aspects of life to get better results, and just to experiment with what my body is capable of releasing in terms of unneeded body fat, in terms of habits that no longer serve me, in terms of other kinds of attachments. And since I started, I'm down from 264.7 pounds to 221.4.
Wow. So how many pounds is that?
That is around 43 and change pounds.
Wow. And just in 4 weeks, you said?
Yep, about 4.5 weeks, almost
Four and a
5.
half weeks, 43 pounds. That's pretty amazing. Congratulations, Mabruk,
Thank
on
you.
that. That's pretty spectacular. I myself, as I shared with you the other day, lost close to 100 pounds over the course of about 9 months in 2018. And it is amazing how these things totally rewire not just how we feel and how our bodies are, but how we feel about ourselves and so on. And I think that's actually quite relevant for our main topic today, which is about college essays. So we have
Absolutely.
about
And on that note, linking it to college applications and college essays, one of the things that I always tell my clients is to be really honest with yourself about what you truly want. Sometimes folks are reluctant to say, I want to go to one of these colleges, or I want to achieve this because it feels unrealistic or it feels out of reach. But what I found is if that we're truly honest with ourselves about what we actually want and why, even if it seems unrealistic, it inspires us to grow. It inspires us out of our comfort zone so we can grow into the person that it is realistic for. So as we start on this journey together and as we start to look at the college essay and college application process, really ask yourself, what is it you truly want and how do you need to grow in order to get there?
beautiful start. We're jumping straight into the deep end, but let's take a bit of a step back now. I shared the poll. We have 155 people here now. About 50% of you participated in the poll, so that should be good, statistically reasonable. We have you guys should be able to see the results. 67, two-thirds are high school students. That makes a lot of sense. We got about 20% are parents. Um, this question was a little confusing. I think it said 24, 25. I think people mixed it around. Based on the registrations, I think a lot of these people are rising seniors, and so on. We have about 63% at public school, about 15, 16% at Islamic school, and then a variety of others. Um,
Also
Northeast.
want to give a huge shout out to the 5% that are middle school students.
Mm,
Joining an event like this when you're in middle school is a huge sign of how committed you are to your dreams and to your goals. And that's something that definitely applauding. Getting a head start and starting to think about these things early is a huge sign of how much success you're going to have and the purpose you're going to achieve.
100%. Um, So I am going to stop sharing that and start getting into our topic for today. So the Unforgettable College Essay Webinar with myself, HamzahHenshaw, and with Josh Aronovich. And let's just jump right in. So I always like to start my talks with a brief dua, asking Allah for His guidance. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يا أول الأولين يا آخر الآخرين يا ذو القوة المتين يا راحم المساكين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين Ya Allah, Ya Allah, you please descend your khair and barakah in this gathering, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, all of these families, all of these students, they have taken time out of their busy lives to come here to learn about this college essay, to learn about how this essay can open doors for them in order to achieve their goals here in this dunya and in the Akhirah. Ya Allah, but you are the guide, you are the hadi, you are the only one who can guide, Ya Allah. So we ask you to send your guidance down onto this group, Ya Allah. We ask you to inspire in our youth the desire to serve you and to serve the ummah and to build lives of purpose and meaning, Ya Allah, and allow this college process to be not a means of stress and competition, but instead a means of self-discovery and finding out what our true purpose is, Ya Allah. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني. Ya Allah, you please help us and help Josh and me fulfill the trust of all the people who are here. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, let's keep on going. We already did this one, so we will get right into it. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Um, this today is a little different than a lot of the other webinars because Josh is here and I'm here. We are largely going to turn this into a conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing slides pretty soon, and just we're going to learn more. Josh and I will have a conversation back and forth, but really the core of that conversation is your own questions, right? So as you can see in Zoom, there's two things that you have. You have the chat where you were putting things about what you had for breakfast and where you're from, and then there's the Q&A function. I see that there's already a question in there. So please, as we're talking, please drop your questions in the Q&A. Some of them we might address right at that point. Others we might come back to later. We will have Q&A as well at the end. But we really want you to do that. We do have a few different surprises and bonuses sprinkled in throughout. And at the end of the webinar, we will be talking about the College Essay Bootcamp, which Josh and I are going to be jointly running together at the end. So we really hope that you guys can stay through the conversation to the end to learn more details about that,
And
including some bonuses.
spoiler alert, there is going to be a special offer that you're going to want to stick around for that's only offered live at the end. I know
Exactly.
we was asked, are we recording? We are recording and we will send out the recording, but there is going to be something not on the recording that's just available live at the end.
Yep. Great. And the other thing we sometimes have, there are some younger students here, or maybe older students, or maybe it's mothers, who knows? But some people spam the chat and they just start putting the same thing in again and again. This is a big gathering. Please respect that and inshallah. But it's also really helpful for us to, and encouraging if something memorable gets said or some insight opens up, put a couple exclamation points in the chat so we know that things are landing for you. We are up to 172 participants. So we had I didn't even see the most recent count. We had somewhere in the range of uh 320 or so. So we have quite a lot of people here. Yes, it will be shared by in a link by email afterwards. Okay. So the other thing, just from the outset, the first little gift and bonus that we're going to give is this. Let me see. This is one of the annoying things about Zoom. I can't copy links. So I'm going to put this one in the chat for everyone. Um, so this is I've been doing this work for many years. I'll introduce myself in more depth in a moment. But I've been working with Muslim kids and with students of all stripes for more than 20 years, and I've collected 5 essays that really worked. One of them I just shared in an email yesterday that some of you guys may have seen, and we might have a chance to talk more about that essay in a little bit. But this is 5 Muslim college essays that worked. It's a great resource. So those of you who are looking for some sample essays, that's something that you can see. Um, I want to stop sharing now, and we'll talk a little bit about. I really the audience is probably somewhat familiar with me, Josh, but we don't know or they don't know as much about you. So could you just give us some of your background? How did you get into this work? And yeah, just let us know who you are.
Absolutely. So I am what you might call a recovering lawyer. I graduated from Harvard Law School back in 2003 and liked law practice, but didn't love it. So I did some soul searching and I realized that the happiest I'd ever been working was when I paid my way through law school by teaching LSAT classes to prep people for the LSAT. So the short version of the long story, after reaching out to my old boss and finding out that he actually didn't have the rights to teach his LSAT courses out of the Boston area, that I decided to go with SATs. So in 2008, I started the Aronovich Coaching Experience, which was initially focused on helping students master the SATs. I read every book on the market, I took every practice test. I started with 3 kids around an old high school teacher's dining room table. And since then, and after the pandemic kicked me out of my office and made me go online, I've helped over 2,000 students from 28 states and 9 countries get into the college of their dreams through a mix of SAT prep, college admissions coaching, and life and career coaching. And what I realized was that law school didn't serve my purpose. I mean, law school did, law practice didn't, because I was making rich people richer rather than moving the needle to a better world. I was feeding my wallet, but I wasn't feeding my soul. And launching this business and really helping teens and 20 somethings not only to get into the college of their dreams, but to grow into the kind of person that they aspire to become, to help them align more deeply with their values, with their purpose, with the impact they want to have on the world. That filled me up. And that's also why I'm so excited to partner with Brother Hamzah, because we share similar values around how we go about this process and how we help and serve the families that we work with. So that's
Yeah,
sort of in a nutshell, why I'm here.
that's beautiful. I know I came across Josh. I'm a part of another coaching program that he was in before I was, and when I joined that program, it was interesting. About 5 people, independent of each other, said when they heard what I do and how I work with teenagers and so on, they said you have to talk to Josh. You have to talk to Josh. But the interesting thing was I started following him on social media. He's a great follow. I highly encourage him. Maybe you can put your things in the chat. But what I noticed was you were never at home. Could you talk a little bit about your lifestyle that you have? Like, mashallah, I love traveling, and wanderlust hit me hard and early. But I've never met someone, at least not an adult, who gets out as much as you do. So, could you talk a little bit about that?
So when I was forced to go online and I sold my office and I went from a small local business to something where I could serve people anywhere, I realized that I had what I always wanted, which was freedom to work from anywhere. So what's the point of having freedom to work from anywhere if you're not actually working from anywhere? So I'm learning how when the universe offers possibilities and when you feel that spark and that, ooh, that seems like something that's aligned, I'm finding reasons to say yes instead of reasons to say no. So in 2024, I spent time in 14 different countries. And I find opportunities to make incredible memories, meet incredible people, but still find ways to serve my clients no matter where I am in the world. So I spent 3.5 weeks in Sri Lanka doing a yoga teacher training, but I still woke up at 3 a.m. local time to do 2 90-minute sessions with clients before I went to the yoga shala in the morning. So it's just, I think, a testament to the idea that when you truly desire something that is aligned with your deeper purpose, it's possible to find a way. And it's possible to be creative in designing a life where you're of service to your community, where you're mentally and spiritually engaged, where you're experiencing new things that take you out of your comfort zone, and you're always making the choice that leads to the greatest growth.
Yeah, it's beautiful. One of my other coaches always says, if you want to be more, you have to become more. And Well, I think one of the reasons that I wanted to partner with Josh is, I'm really all about trying to inspire young Muslim teenagers to dream big, to really, we have so many self-limiting beliefs about what's even possible and so on. And it's really inspiring for me to be around people like you, Josh, who do have much. You've lost 40 pounds this month, you've traveled to 14 countries. Like, you're a doer, you're an action taker. And I think for our kids, our children, to be exposed to people like that is just incredibly empowering, and hopefully plants lots of great seeds.
And
um
I think ultimately, doing is more aligned and more impactful when it flows effortlessly from who we're being. And spending more time in prayer and meditation, spending more time connecting with that deeper sense of who we are and why we're here, helps us to do in a way that is more aligned and more effective.
100%. Um, okay, so I want to talk a little bit about myself. My name is HamzahHenshaw. Alhamdulillah, I became Muslim when I was 15 years old at a boarding school outside of Boston. I talk about myself as a Mayflower Muslim because on both my mother and father's side, my ancestry stretches back to those pilgrims who you study about in fourth grade or whenever it is. Um, so alhamdulillah, my family has been here in the States for a very long time. But becoming Muslim at that young age was by far the most important thing that changed the entire trajectory of my life. I went on to graduate from Harvard a little bit. Actually, you and I may have overlapped for 1 year when you were
Yep.
at the law school. Interesting. I never really thought about that. But I graduated in 2001 with a degree in Near Eastern languages and civilizations, so Arabic, Middle Eastern history, but also economics. Josh is a recovering lawyer. I'm a recovering uh, Islamic finance person. That was my first career.
I was
I,
also an economics major. I did
oh, really?
economics and political science as a double major at GW.
Oh, wow, great. So my first career was in Islamic finance and investing and so on, but very quickly I realized I couldn't have the same impact, and it wasn't my qibla. It wasn't fully aligned with who I am, and I transitioned to teaching. I've taught overseas. I've taught at one of the top private schools in the country. And then for over a decade, I worked at Al Noor Academy, New England's first full-time K through 12 Islamic school. And there I wore many hats. I was the head of the English department. You can see I have quite a few books behind me and so on. Um, but I also was overseeing the college placement when I was there. And Al Noor, despite being a very small school with very limited resources, we consistently were sending students off to the country's top schools, MIT and Harvard and Brown, and year after year, we were getting these results that the local public schools, like, what's going on at this tiny, in this tiny building, and so on. And so during the pandemic, I was doing some soul searching about what should I do next, what's the next challenge in my life. And I this idea came to me of creating a college consultancy specifically aimed at helping uplift the Muslims, doing the same work that I was doing in a relatively narrow setting within a single school, and bringing that effort to the world as a whole. So I founded Five Before College back in 2023, and alhamdulillah, it's grown tremendously since that time. Um, I think, one of the reasons I did this was that there are, community specific challenges that we face as a Muslim community. Many parents did not go to American universities, and don't necessarily understand the nuances of the application system, right? So I often ask this question when we have a little bit more time, and usually it's about a two-thirds split. Two-thirds of the students in the room, their parents did not go to university in the States. And that's quite different than the population that a lot of college consultancies work with. There's not a lot of high quality college content for the Muslim American audience, right? We have concerns that others might not. Is there halal food in the dining hall? Is there is there a Muslim chaplain? How many people come for Juma? Are there single gender dorming options? There are a lot of questions that we might have that there wasn't anyone out there really to answer those. These days, there's a big fear of Islamophobia, and how open can we be about our convictions on our applications and so on. Um, Paying for college is difficult within our community for the people who try to avoid interest and riba. Like obviously with the cost of education being what it is, it can be quite challenging. And then the last one is that what I've noticed is that there's a lot of pressure to pursue the big three. Let's see who can be the first in the chat. What are the three professions that it is acceptable for a Muslim student to pursue? Doctor, yep. Lawyer and engineer. Ooh, someone had them all three. Who was the first person who got them all three together? Yep, Mustafa Al Jamal, mashallah. Oh, and Amar, mashallah. So those are and I don't know, Josh. It would be interesting, to see. But this is something that I've noticed. And while I've had lots of great students who've gone on to medical school and are doing well. I have lots of engineers, lawyers as well. There is a whole nother world out
I've
there.
I've also had Muslim students who became philosophy majors, who
Ooh,
were English majors, who followed their qibla even if it wasn't necessarily what they were encouraged to do, but they found a way to really go inward and deep and find their true purpose, regardless of what other voices said.
mashallah. Um, and so when I was coming up with a company name, I was inspired to choose the name Five Before College, and it really has two meanings. First of all, the first big idea here is that Five Before College is because the one of the most common questions I get asked is, when should I start preparing for college? And I was able to give a pretty clear answer, which is 5 years before college. The secret sauce that we had at Al Noor was I used to teach sixth grade English, ninth and 10th grade English, and then I was their guidance counselor in 11th and 12th grade. So by the time I was helping the students navigate the college process, I knew them, I knew their families, I knew every inch, nook, and cranny of them. So I was able to give really high quality information. So at Five Before College, our ideal customer journey, which may be different than some of the people we have in the audience today, but is to start way back at the end of middle school, early in high school, 5 years before college, and develop a long-term relationship. So our core program is Find Your Qibla. You've probably heard me talk about that before. We have a program called Find Your Qibla Squared. Um, but we also don't want to neglect the needs of our the students who are right in the belly of the beast, who are applying to college right now, and I'm sure we have a lot of those in the audience as well. So we developed you know we have students who we work with privately, who we need to help with college essays. So we decided, let's do an intensive for that, and we decided to open it up to the community, and that's the college essay boot camp, which we'll talk about towards the end of today. And then the second reason we called it Five Before College was because of the beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who said, "Ightanimu khamsan qabla khams," take benefit of five before five. Your youth before your old age, your health before sickness, your wealth before poverty, your free time before busyness, and your life before death. And, this hadith has always really stuck out to me, but I realized that it was speaking to me in it laid out the sort of blueprint for college admissions, for holistic college admissions. If you focus, I think with a lot of Muslim families, they focus very heavily on this one word, academics, right? And they are all about the grades, the GPA, the APs, the SATs, and so on. But the reality is, while those are the single most important thing that goes into college applications, at the top tier schools and the schools which are making big scholarship decisions and things, it's often the way you show up as a three-dimensional human that deals with your intellectual curiosity, often shown by how you read, that deals with your health, your athletics, and your mental health, and so on. It deals with your careers and how much you've explored those and gotten experience and internships and things like that. It definitely deals with your extracurriculars and your friendships. You're the average of the five people you spend the most time with, right? And so all those come up, and then of course your character, your akhlaq, and your iman and your faith, right? Those are all the things which come in. So the idea is that if you work on these five things across the 5 years before college, then inshallah you'll be successful. And alhamdulillah, this formula really does work. This is just an example of some of the students that we've worked with in the past, so where schools that they've gone off to. Some of these were in the boot camp from last year. Some of them were in five before college students that we work with more generally. Um,
And just to
and
add some to the list, this on
oh,
the back of my book, I've helped clients get into Harvard, UCLA, Penn, South Carolina, Clemson, Boston College, Drexel, NYU, Northeastern, Kyoto University of Advanced Sciences, West Point, the Air Force Academy, and more.
yeah, mashallah. Do you have your book right there? You want to hold it up?
Sure.
The word, and what's it called at the
It's
top?
called The College of Their Dreams, What Every Parent Needs to Know to Help Their Teens.
Yep. So I have not yet written my book, so I like that. I bought that on Amazon as soon as I heard that Josh had it, and it is a good read. So I do recommend it. Um, I just want to do one thing, and I know a lot of you have probably seen this slide before, but I think it can anchor the core of our conversation today, which is with this whole college process, right? What you're really trying to do is you are trying to stand out from the pack, right? And one of my scripture statements, one of the things that I always like to tell students is that different is better than better. Different is better than better, right? All of these umbrellas are pretty much the same in their construction. It's just that one is different than the others, and therefore it stands out. And the college, one of the reasons the college essay is so important is you've spent your 5 years, you've done all these amazing things. It's incredible the types of things and backgrounds that the students who come to me have, but they don't. What they're worried about is how do I package it? How do I put myself, to look like that red umbrella? How can I celebrate these things? And I think that's really what we want to talk about today. And then for other students, they're saying I'm not a red umbrella. I'm just one of those black umbrellas in the corner. There's nothing special about me. And I think that's something that I definitely do not believe, categorically do not believe. I think every single person has inside of them those qualities, but it is up to a good coach and it is up to asking the right questions to unlock that perspective.
I think the
So
mistake
yeah.
a lot of times that people make when they think they're not special is they're trying to figure out what is the one thing that makes me special. And the truth is, it's not going to necessarily be one thing. It may be a combination of three things that no one else has that unique combination of talents, passions, abilities, the experiences, so that it's not just one thing, but it's how the different pieces of you fit together that make you truly exceptional. You can say, I'm not the best speaker of Arabic. I'm not the best at math. I'm not the best at economics, but you may be the best combining those three and using them to research and work in a certain way. So taking the different pieces where you find sparks of joy, where you find excellence, and putting them together in a way that's uniquely you can position you not only to stand out to colleges, but more importantly, to live a more fulfilling high school experience. Because it's like the old joke says, authenticity is the most important thing in the world. If you can fake that, you've got it made. But if you're faking it, it's not authenticity. And the truth is that colleges can see through BS more than ever.
Hmm.
They can tell if an essay is written by ChatGPT or if it's written by a coach who's not as ethical. And that doesn't work. It's not about writing the best essay. It's about writing the essay that only you could have written.
Yeah. You know, I think one thing I've noticed over the years, because I was an English teacher as well, is that a lot of times the really quote unquote good writers, the kids who loved writing, actually really struggled with the college essay, right?
Hmm.
Because they were trying to write a great essay instead
Hmm.
of a real essay, instead of an essay that was the essay that only they could write. You know, I often talk about how you know a a good college essay teaches me something I didn't know about the student, right? I know them pretty well, but it teaches me something. A great college essay teaches their parents something their parents didn't know about their child. But the best college essays teach you something that you didn't know about yourself, right? Because you've dug so deep, and in the process of excavating your memories and your ideas and so on, you've come upon realizations that that spark a new sense of self and so on. I think one of the reasons that I love this work so much is that this is one of those rites of passage that all students have to go through, but when done with ihsan, when done properly, it can actually spark tremendous personal growth, far that lasts far beyond college itself, right? I
So, so true. When you approach this process with the right intent, the right mindset, the right soul set, it's something that has lasting effects well beyond writing a college essay and getting to the college of your dreams. Done right, this process of growth and exploration is going to help intentionally shape the rest of your life. And writing an amazing college essay is almost just a fortunate byproduct of that process, of that growth, of that exploration.
right. I yeah, I love that. You know, I think the metaphor that I often use is to reframe this whole college process and think of college not as a trophy but as a trampoline. I think a lot of for a lot of families, and if we're really honest with ourselves, even Josh and me, like we use our Harvard degrees, and it's called dropping the H bomb and so on. But the reality is none of that really matters. And when you focus on that, and when you make your qibla college itself, right, then you come across the admissions officers have a term for people. They call them sweaty when they are talking about college and putting the colleges on a pedestal. You know,
And they just come off as trying too hard.
mm,
It's when someone sort of believes their own press and is focused on their accomplishments, is focused on checking off boxes, it's not the kind of student they're looking for. Because frankly, what colleges are looking for is more about crafting a freshman class than it is about just picking individuals. And it's not picking the individual that's the best at this, the best at that, the best at that. It's about picking someone where they can visualize how is this person going to show up on campus? What role are they going to play in class discussions? What activities are they going to be involved with and become leaders in? And that doesn't mean that the quiet, studious kid isn't going to be picked, but it does mean projecting, even if you haven't done it yet, how you're going to grow and blossom and evolve into that best version of yourself. And someone wrote in the Q&A about the importance of creating a narrative and what that means in your application and in your essay. The narrative is the story of who you are, who you've been, and who you're becoming. And it's how the essay, the activities, the recommendations, how all the different parts fit together to create this sense of who you are and who you're growing into, so they can imagine how you're going to impact the lives of the people around you on campus and the people around you in your community and in your career. And that story of past, present, future is how you can convey that. And I think that's what is often meant by this idea of creating a narrative. It's giving them a feel for who you are, a feel for your soul, a feel for the kind of human being you are, and making you someone they want to root for, someone they want to engage with, someone they want to have in their classes, at their lunch table.
Yeah, 100%. Um, there was a, I think we have an audience of very people with varying levels of understanding of this whole college process, from people who are probably pretty sophisticated and nuanced to people who really don't don't even know some of the basics. So there was a great question here. It says, can you detail the parts of the college application quickly? Is there a different essay for each college? Are there multiple essays per college? Maybe you want to
Sure.
start with that.
So there, many colleges are on something called Common App, where you can go in, you can put in your information, you write a Common App essay, which is sort of the core 650 word essay that goes to all the colleges you apply to. Some colleges also have supplemental essays where there's questions along the lines of why this college, where there's questions that are specific to your major or to what about this college calls out to you. Some colleges have very short answers, sort of like your favorite books or your favorite music or different things where you can show a little bit more about your personality. And these are some sample supplements
Yeah.
that
So
we put on
so
the
so
screen.
just to be more specific and really give you the exact details. So on the Common App, which the vast majority of schools that you'll apply to are on the Common App, the core personal statement is one of these questions.
And
Now,
notice the seventh one is to share an essay on any topic of your choice. So don't feel like you have to shoehorn something into one of the prompts. Some of the greatest essays, and I would say even most of the greatest essays that I've read, have been that prompt number 7, where you pick your own topic and say and communicate what you need to communicate, how you need to communicate it.
yes, and I that's what it says at the top. Don't sweat the prompts. Not a great place to start. However, some people want to know, so there are questions around. Some students have a background, identity, and interest that's so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. Please share your story. Right? There's another one about facing failures and setbacks and how did that affect you? Times when you questioned or challenged a belief or an idea and what happened with that. Times that you've shown a lot of gratitude, accomplishments or events. That one, it's really hard to write a great essay, honestly. They come across not that great. A topic or that you find so engaging that it makes you lose track of time. So this is the personal statement. This is a 650 word essay that ultimately is all about you, right? And these are the prompts they give. But as Josh mentioned, uh, essay number 7 or prompt number 7 is where a lot of the best essays live. Now, certain colleges, especially the more selective colleges, have additional essays that are specific to them. They're called supplements, school-specific supplement essays. And these are, there are some which are pretty common across different schools, and you can use a version of an essay for multiple schools. And then some are pretty unique, and really the school is asking you to write just one. So Dartmouth says, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Introduce yourself. 250 words. Okay. If you could teach a class on any one thing, whether academic or otherwise, what would it be? Right. This has led to some really great essays, and you can notice the word count is pretty restrictive. 100 words is not a lot of writing, and which is one of the things that puts some pressure on people. UPenn has write a short thank you note to someone you have not yet thanked and would like to acknowledge. So I want to give it just an example of that one. I had a student named Zoya, who came to me, and mashallah, she was already very accomplished. She created this foundation where she was tutoring Kashmiri students. She started with just one student during the pandemic, and eventually had 300 students. She had to recruit about 20 people from her school to be involved with this. She created this 501c3 organization and so on. And, so she was the spectacular student. UPenn was her dream school. And so we got to this question and we were brainstorming ideas. And I said, why do you do what you do? Why did you start this Hikmah Foundation and so on? And she shared the story that when she was younger, she was on the swim team, and as a Muslim girl, she dressed modestly, and so she had a special swimsuit created that was not very revealing. And there was a sort of a class bully. There was a group of boys who bullied her relentlessly when she was in middle school, and it was one of the hardest times of her life. And ultimately, all of her accomplishments sort of stemmed, she said, from this. So when we got to this, I said, what if you wrote a thank you letter to the bullies who bullied you, because ultimately they're the ones who helped you become the Zoya we see today. And she wrote this incredible thank you letter to them. And it's just an example of a creative way to attack some of these supplements. Which Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor, real or imagined, best describes you? That's the classic UVM one. And then University of Chicago is famous for it. Actually, I highly encourage you guys to search up University of College Chicago supplements. They have the archives of all their past prompts. They're all sorts of crazy things like, so where is Waldo really? And then there's no word limit.
Yeah, one of
Um,
my
uh,
favorites is the one they had for a while, Find X.
yeah, find
That
X.
was the prompt.
Right. That was a problem. And people write these incredible things. You can find examples of them. So you get a little sense of the school's personalities from that. But that was a great question. There are other parts of the Common App. Most of it's pretty basic demographic information and so on. The other somewhat tricky area on the Common Application is the activities section, right? So the activities section is where you have to talk about, you have space to talk about up to 10 different activities that you're involved in. So this could be, your passion projects that you've developed. This could be various different extracurriculars that you've been in, family responsibilities that you have. Very restrictive in terms of the character count there, but that is another place where your personality comes through. And then there are other applications. The UC system, I'm sure we have some California people here, the UC applications, which don't have a personal statement. They have the PIQs, and personal insight questions, and there are various other changes. There are some schools like MIT and Georgetown that are not on the Common App that have their own specific ones. There's an Apply Texas app, although almost all those schools are also on the Common App. So, but generally speaking, the most important piece of writing you do is probably the personal statement, because that's the one that gets sent to all the schools.
And Fatima just asked a great question. When should you ultimately start writing your college essay? And the answer to that is a little complicated in that you don't necessarily start by writing the college essay, but it's never too early to start writing about who you are and what your story is. And there's a number of different writing exercises that we recommend to prepare to write your college essay. Brother Hamzah calls it a zero draft. I call it sculpting your block of marble. But the idea is there are ways to start writing, and it's never too early to start that, because that process of writing is going to help you figure out the aspects of your story that are going to be most powerful in your ultimate personal statement.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think, yeah, there's some great questions, and I love it that we can really focus on these questions as they come in. Um, this one from Balal. Um, what's the balance between discussing what was in your control and what wasn't? Oftentimes, I see Muslim student essays highlighting their cultural heritage, and talking a lot less about their involvement on the school campus. Would it take away from my perceived uniqueness if I focus more on myself through the lens of what I choose to do now, even if they may be more common activities? Um, Great question, very perceptive question. Do you wanna take a stab at that? I have
Sure.
some thoughts as well.
I think what you're suggesting is actually a false choice. You don't have to decide between reflecting on your Muslim identity and talking about your activities that may not be unique, but you can talk about what your identity brings to those activities and how you engage in a way that is the product both of your upbringing and your faith, but also of the other impacts and other things that have influenced your life. about how you're a whole person that isn't defined by any one aspect of your identity. And I think talking about that interplay, talking about how those elements fit together, could be what makes you that much more unique.
Right. Yeah, and I think for those of you who are on my mailing list and saw the essay that I sent yesterday, I think it gives some, you know, good examples there. It was about a student who wrote about essentially reading Harry Potter while he was at a madrasa memorizing the Quran in South Africa. But it was also about the his insight into the difference in educational philosophy and culture between what he saw in the African madrasa and what he saw in his, you know, public school in California. And what was sophisticated about it was he wasn't saying one is good, one is bad. He was seeing the pros from both, that there was a lot of discipline and you know, respect built into the madrasa model, whereas there was a love of critical thinking and creativity in the, you know, in the California one. And he really celebrated how he was a product of both, and he really appreciated both.
And
um,
without bragging and without being not humble, he showed how he's becoming the best of both worlds by taking the lessons he's learned in both worlds.
Right. And he took a truly incredible accomplishment. Obviously, memorizing the Quran. I'm sure we have some hufaz in here. It's you know, a magisterial thing to do. You're memorizing 600 pages of you know, Arabic text and so on. But he didn't, you know, I've read Quran memorization stories, but this is one of the most sophisticated where he didn't just focus on that, but that was just, you know, part of the overall narrative that really captured you know, who he is and so on. And as I shared in that story, it was his application and that essay was so memorable that Yale had the president of Mexico make a recruitment call to him to try to get him, convince him to come to Yale. You know, this is something that happens for a very small handful of students who even these top Ivies are sort of fighting over, the very cream of the crop. And that's what I talk about as a magnetic Muslim, right? A magnetic Muslim attracts opportunities to them, and really, you know, one of my big philosophies is that the closer you get to your Islamic identity, you know, the more you are able to you know, develop that magnetism and so on. um so
Samaya has a great question. How can you determine an experience worth writing about? And the best way to determine whether an experience is worth writing about is to write about it, is to write what that experience meant to you. Because what makes an essay powerful is not the experience, but it's how you grew from the experience. It's your story of what the experience meant to you in the moment and what it meant going forward. And the best way to see with different possible experiences to write about is to write about them all and see what comes out and see which one has that ring of truth and ring of power that you can then develop and expand upon and refine.
nice. There was you had answered a question earlier that I had, what was it? Oh, about when to start, because we do have middle schoolers and younger students. One thing that I have my daughter do, because as a college person, I see college essays around every corner. A few years ago, I actually did this crazy um, uh, project challenge where I wrote 30 college essays in 30 days. I was in class. I was working with the you know, the seniors, and you know, I was teaching the college essay as I've done so many times before. And one of the kids, who's a little cheeky, like class clown type, he said, you know, brother Hamzah, when we were in English class, you always said show don't tell. But now we're talking about college essays and you're just telling us. Why don't you show us? Why don't you write a college essay? And you know, I think he was just going for a laugh, but like you know, I like challenges and so on. So the next morning I came to this very desk where I'm sitting right now, and I took a notebook that looked very similar to this, And for the first time in 30 years, I wrote a college essay, right? And what I wrote about was this epiphany that I had that it was about crossword puzzles. And this is just an example of how your college essay can be about anything, right? And what I realized was that I should love crossword puzzles. As you can see, like books and language and everything is my whole life. And people like me like are supposed to like crossword puzzles, but for some reason I didn't. I've never liked them, and I realized it was because every time I've sat down to do a crossword puzzle, I try to do it in pen, right? And that and the problem is, of course, crossword puzzles are confusing and so on. And so the first line of my essay was, when I discovered the eraser, everything changed. And I was using the metaphor of the crossword puzzle to reflect on this big change that I've seen in my adult life, switching from more of a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And learning, what's possible in that way.
And
Um,
realizing that a mistake isn't a mistake, it's just an attempt.
mm,
And attempts can be erased and retried. It's such a powerful metaphor. And that brings me to Mustafa's question. Do metaphor based essays or hooks tend to do well with more selective colleges, struggling to find a cohesive blend of a metaphor, my personality, and character? And the answer to this question is actually the answer to a lot of questions. It depends. Metaphors can be incredibly powerful, and metaphors can be forced and not inauthentic that don't help an essay. So the real answer is, do you have to use a metaphor? Absolutely not. Can you use a metaphor powerfully? Absolutely. So it's really a question of experimenting, trying essays with and without metaphors, and ultimately see which one feels more you. There is no one way to write an essay. There is no single template of this is how you should do it. And in fact, ones that try too hard to copy another successful essay end up being very ineffective. It's ultimately about finding the most powerful way of telling the story that you want to tell. And you start by asking yourself, not just what's going to make a great essay, because something can be a great piece of writing but not be a good college essay because it doesn't meet the purpose, which is to make them more likely to accept you, to tell them about who you are as a person in a way that makes you irresistible. So, should I use a metaphor or not is more write some essays with, write some essays without, and see which one does a better job of conveying who you are and who you're aspiring to become.
right. And so if anyone's interested in those 30 college essays in 30 days, I did put it together sort of in a book form. I've never actually published it, but I put that chat in the or sorry, I put that link in the chat. There's a QR code here. Um, One of the things that this experience taught me and has really informed the work that I do with students is this idea of Parkinson's law. Um, Parkinson's law says that the amount of time that something takes expands to fill the amount of time that you give it. So, in other words, if you give yourself a week to write an essay, it's going to take you a week to write an essay. If you give yourself an hour to write that same essay, it will take you 1 hour to write that same essay. And one of the real sort of unlocks for me was, in order to write 30 college essays in 30 days, I had to stop being precious about my writing. I couldn't massage it until it was all perfect. I needed to get it out. And it's the raw writing that just springs from the heart and that you do. And one of the best ways to do that, especially in this age of distraction and so on, is actually to go back to writing by hand. So you can actually see the very, very first essay that I was just talking about, the New York Times crossword one, on November 7th, 2022, right? That was when I did it, and that's what the draft looks like. And as I'm looking at this, I don't know if you guys can see, I mentioned the hook. Like, notice how in my editing I realized, the hook that I ended up using was at the end of the first paragraph, and that's the great thing. You get the ideas down, and then some of the lines will be golden, and you move them all around and so on. And so one of the reasons we're doing the boot camp a little bit differently this year, last year we did it over the course of 14, 15 days in the beginning of August. We wanted to do even more of a container, right? And so we're just doing it over the course of 5 days in July. The other problem with August was some of the schools go back to school really, really early and so on. So we're doing it over the course of 5 days so that you don't have a lot of time to be precious about your writing, and you're going to be forced to actually just do a lot of great writing, right? And so to get back to what I started with, the advice I have that my daughter has is, to have on your notes app just an essay that a folder that says, college essay ideas, or essay ideas, anything that you don't need to write just for college. I have that at the back of every notebook. I always, the very back page, when ideas come to me, because they come at all different times. You're on a walk, you're in the shower, you're in all sorts of different places. Ideas come to you. Just write them down. The brain is very good at coming up with ideas. It's not very good at storing them, and so you won't necessarily remember. And therefore, when you do sit down to brainstorm essay ideas, you might already have a whole bank of ideas and so on. So yeah, let's see. Uh, I'm just looking at some of the. So, what do you say about an essay that applies to more than one prompt? So there's the personal statement, which is going to be unique. That's going to be your take on things. With the with the essays, with the supplements, there's often a supplement about your an extracurricular that was particularly meaningful to you. And one school might give you 150 words, one might do 250, one might do 300. They might ask slightly different variations of this, but more or less there's this concept of like a super essay where you take like a Venn diagram of different essay questions and you find where they overlap, and you can write an essay that could be used for multiple places. This is sort of a strategic thing that you can do, when writing, especially supplemental essays.
So one question that was asked is, read online that colleges don't take boring people, uh, is or people without good extracurriculars. Is this true? Are my extracurriculars aren't great? How could I make them look good on my essay or substitute them? So I think there's a myth that some extracurriculars are better than others. It's not about the extracurriculars being great. It's about what you get out of and what you invest into those extracurriculars. So my question for you would be, how can I deepen my involvement in the things that I enjoy? How can I seek out leadership, not necessarily in a title, but in having a greater impact on the success of a team or an organization? How can I find ways to be more meaningfully involved in my community, whether there's school activities, community activities? But it's really not a question of what do I need to do to get into college. It's a question of what do I need to do to make my experience of high school and of life more enriching, more impactful, and more meaningful. And then chasing those kinds of experiences is how you develop things that'll look good on an application. It's sort of the tail that wags the dog. You're not doing this to get into college. You're doing this to have a better experience of high school and of life, which will then help you get into college. Another question I saw, I think it popped up in the chat, was how do I write a great essay if I'm not great at English? I've worked with a lot of folks where English is not their first language. My first piece of advice there is to write it first in the language you're best at. Get the ideas out in the language that is the easiest for you to communicate in. And then translate it with help, with guidance from coaches that can then help you polish the English while making it still yours. The fact that English is not your first language and you're communicating and writing in it is a feature, not a bug. That's part of what makes you unique. That is part of what makes you powerful. And you can even use that idea of exploring and communicating in different languages as part of the message you're giving. and part of the uniqueness that you bring to that college community. So don't apologize for English not being your best or first language, but find a way to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, you have to write who you are, right? Yeah, and I think, so often people are sort of bending themselves into pretzels to trying to figure out what other people want, what other people are looking for, and the reality is that, you are you are the product here. There was a question about, like, how do I what if I write about myself too much? I think most people do the opposite. Most people, it's like a laundry list of achievements,
But
of
that's not about you, it's just about what you've done. Who
exactly.
are
Like,
you
very,
really?
very, it's hard to have too much self, like, revelation.
Reflection. Yeah.
I think, it's probably possible. There are a lot of questions about what not to do. What are some of the biggest mistakes you can make? We'll definitely have a session on that, during the boot camp. But what are there any memorably, I don't know if I should say, but bad essays that you've seen, Josh,
I mean, the
or
worst
things that you try
essays
to
are the
try to.
ones that fall into the cliche. Are the I traveled to this place and it changed my life because I saw poverty. Are um, the ones where I got an injury and it made me realize the importance of being part of the team. It's not that it's a bad essay or a bad topic. It's just that it's literally an essay that 1,000 people could have written. That
Mhm.
there's nothing in that essay that's uniquely you. If I read the essay and I don't feel like I know you, I'm not going to be pounding the table to make sure you get in. Because think about how the process works. You've got a committee of people reading the essays, spending about 2 minutes on each one, who then, after reading a couple hundred essays, are asked, who do you like? Who, from what you've read, stands out? So much of the essay is about creating this like one phrase or one sentence that they're going to remember about you. And it's going to make them want to pound the table to get you in. And the fact of the matter is, especially at the most selective schools, they have 20 times the number of people that are perfect fits for the school that apply than they have spots. So they're not looking for the people that check off all the boxes. They're looking for the people that offer something unique and interesting that isn't offered by anybody else. And quite frankly, you never know what a particular school is looking for in a particular year. It may be a unique combination of major and musical instrument. It might be an athlete. It might be someone who's involved in certain leadership activities. We don't know, and no one knows. But what you can do is present yourself in a way that is authentic to who you are, that powerfully conveys your talents, your passions, your dreams, your goals, and then the school that is the right fit for you will want you. It's not about getting into the best school. It's not about ego or checking off that box, jumping through that hoop. It's about finding the school that is the best soil for you to grow into who you want to become. And that is something where we and you can do that work and put together that list and find multiple schools that seem to fit the bill. But then ultimately, it's a much about what they're looking for is about what you're looking for. And it's about trusting in God that the right match is going to occur when you approach it with the right intent and the right energy.
Yeah. Those du'as we make in the beginning are not just like filler. It's genuine, like the they're obviously, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control and so on, but what we are really looking for is the right fit, right? The fit over prestige. Like, alhamdulillah, I think I do, so to some extent, have a specialty of helping students get into these top tier universities. I think, like I said, you, to some extent, you teach who you are. That was sort of my background. I was that type of student, and it's a demographic that I'm particularly, uh, you know, maybe used to helping. But it's really not about, um, you know focusing on where you go. It's about figuring out who you are, so that wherever you go, you're going to find success. Because again, college is not the trophy, it's the trampoline. It's the Your experience in college is going to propel you towards that life of purpose, and your life of purpose is what you're going to present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's going to determine where you spend eternity in the Akhirah, right? So you know trying to game the process and so on is not necessarily the right way. Like, we have a lot of angst that we can offload when we know that ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control. And a lot of times, as Allah says, asa an takrahu shay'an fahuwa khayrun lakum. Sometimes you hate a thing and it's better for you, and sometimes you love a thing and it's worse for you, right? The one of my students, that many of you might be familiar with, maybe not him himself, but the product he created. His name is Anas. He came to us from. He'd been studying in the Emirates. He came to Al Noor, and he brought a ton of energy. He came as a junior, and he brought the Model UN. We'd never had Model UN there, and he did all sorts of other things. And he desperately wanted to go to MIT, and he was MIT material in my opinion, after doing this for a long time. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. He didn't end up getting into MIT. So he went to Northeastern. He did really well there. He got an internship with iRobot, who make the Roomba and things like that. He later went on to work at Amazon, and he's working at Amazon, doing very, very well shortly after finishing college. But that's not what he really wanted to do. What he really wanted to do, what he loved more than anything, was the Quran and artificial intelligence. Right? Interesting mix. So this is before AI was a big buzzword and so on. So he left Amazon and he founded a company called Tartil, which I bet some of you use yourselves. It's an AI powered Quran app, to help with your tajweed and so on. They have millions of users now. I remember even myself, despite all that I preached, when he told me he was leaving Amazon to go start a Quran app, I was like, oh man, like, I mean, we all have our weaknesses, but he proved us all wrong. He has a team of like 15 people and millions of users, and is doing, just amazing, amazing, life-changing work. And who knows, if he'd gone to MIT, whether all that would have happened. So you never know the plan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for you, and all you can do is really show up and do your best. So let's take one or two more questions here, and then I do want to have a chance to talk a little bit about the boot camp, and then maybe we can finish off with some questions after that as well.
Yeah, why don't
Inshallah.
we focus on the boot camp first? Because I know we want to respect everybody's time, but then we can hang out a little bit longer after to answer some more questions for those that need it.
Okay, perfect. So just give me a second to get ready for that. Okay. Share screen.
But as you're pulling that up, I actually want to answer a question from Amar. I'm a grad student applying to PhD programs, successfully was admitted into 3 programs and attended 2 different schools. The programs were not supportive of me, so I left for a better match. Trying once again, and I'm concerned about my statement of purpose and personal statement, especially in these days, which is difficult to decide what to disclose in terms of diversity, which can be used against me. How should I proceed? Fantastic question. I've worked with a number of PhD candidates. I think the important thing here is to realize that any school that's going to use diversity against you is probably not a school you want to attend, and not a school where you're going to be a good fit and feel well supported. So I would err on the side of being vulnerable and honest about who you are and what you're looking for to find the right fit. The goal is not to just get into places, it's to get into the right place where you're going to be able to grow and thrive. So I would encourage you to be honest, be vulnerable, but also speak to what exactly you're looking for and what you bring. There's a balance between not trashing the other places you've tried, but also explaining why they weren't the right fit in a way that still puts you in a good light without putting them in a bad light.
Yep. I love working with someone that almost completely confident that your answer will parallel what I would say. Because not all college people have the same philosophy, right? There are college people out there who have different philosophies, and but I what I love about working with Josh is I find so much alignment between his view and my view and our Islamic worldview and so on. So I want to talk about the college essay boot camp, as it says 5 years in 5 minutes, make them count. This idea that we do the 5 years before college, but then when you're actually applying to college, you only have about 5 to 7 minutes in front of the admissions officer. And the job of your essay during that time is to transform that admissions officer from a gatekeeper to an advocate, from someone who's going to go into the committee meeting and really advocate for you because you've captured their attention through your essay and your application as
I'd go one step further and say turn them into a raving fan.
a raving fan. Exactly. Yes. Um, so why should you join the boot camp? Clarity on who you are and where you're going, right? I think fundamentally, yes, this is a writing class. Yes, there is a deliverable that comes out of it. But more than anything, the most important deliverable, the way I measure success for this, is how much clearer are you on who you are and what you're trying to make of your life. Um, Inshallah, you'll develop several, more than one, unforgettable stories that only you could tell, right? Like that, again, that's how Josh framed the college essay, and I think it's a beautiful way. Obviously, you're getting elite coaching from Harvard trained experts. Last year we did a boot camp, and it was very, very successful. um, I worked with a number of very successful Muslim students who had themselves recently applied to college, and they did a great job as mentors and so on. But I realized that I really, if I'm doing something under the brand name of Five Before College and so on, I want to make sure that it's absolutely premium content, and that's why I went out and found the best expert that I could to co-teach the class together. Um, the high leverage summer sprint, I was talking about Parkinson's law, leveraging the inverse of it. If you give yourself tons of time, if you think, oh, I don't college essays, those aren't due till November 1st or January 1st, right? Then it's going to take you until that, and you're going to be one of those kids who on Halloween is like, struggling to like put their essay together, and you don't want to be that,
Yeah,
right? We
the
want to take
clients that
you.
ask me, can I meet with him at midnight on October
Yeah.
31st?
I- so you do not want to be that. You want to be able to spend 5 focus days in July, write essays that you're super proud of. It just takes this huge weight off your shoulders so you can enjoy the rest of the summer, and you can certainly enjoy the fall when you see all your peers struggling with that and so on. Insider insight into what colleges are really looking for. Between us, Josh and I have about 50 years of experience in this college game. And we do know our way around this topic. And then of course spiritual and personal growth, right? This is while we certainly work with people of any faith and any background, it is a predominantly Muslim audience, and we are very much a faith first, faith forward brand. Um, so I wanted to just share. Hopefully the sound will work. This is from last year's boot camp, so some of their reflections will be about how it was run last year, but I think you'll get a sense from them of what it's like. And I give it a 10 out of 10. Take this course. There's so much. Is the audio
Yeah,
coming
I can
through?
hear it.
Okay. Should I try to make it full screen? I don't. They don't make it easy. If it's okay, I'll just leave it here.
I learned so much value community and where I saw like I could be vulnerable and open up.
This course has also really increased my confidence and made me feel a lot better about, getting into college.
Specifically, I really enjoyed how there, at least for the premium tier, there was a specific mentor you could work with to have your essays looked at and guide you through the process of writing these essays, especially the supplementals and the personal statement. And also, there were office hours that I really, really liked. It was really personal with the office hours, which I really liked.
I really thought that this course was valuable because there were specific mentors that were like specialized in each topic for each class. That really helped get a lot of information about each thing that we learned. And I also thought that the office hours were very helpful because we got a lot of one-on-one.
My parents actually forced me to take it. I didn't want to at first, but later on, I learned this is such an amazing opportunity for me, and I learned so much through it.
I learned a lot about just getting the thoughts out of my head and into the notebook or into the computer, being able to get it all out.
I really like the workshops that were interactive, where you got to practice the information that you learned during the workshop. That was really enjoyable to me.
I would say that the office hours were also my favorite part of the course.
My favorite aspect about this course was how much there was one-on-one discussion, especially with people who are close to me, both in Islam and both in majors. They picked the perfect mentors for me, and they allowed me to grow and really find who I am. And more than that, just write amazing essays and have an amazing application.
Learned how to pick out my topic too, learned from my personal statement.
You know, the main advice that I got was just start writing, which I really thought was helpful because I was having a lot of writer's block during the summertime, and I couldn't really get anything down. I was staring at my screen, trying to write something, couldn't get anything out. And this college essay bootcamp really helped with that.
I was able to gain a lot of skills in overcoming writer's block and just starting to write an essay that is very compelling.
I really loved how the overall idea was finishing your early application. I really feel confident about my application as a whole right now. My activities list is done. During the summertime, that too. My personal statement is in really good shape.
After taking this course, I feel a lot more confident about applying to college, and I'm a lot more familiar with the process.
I would recommend this boot camp to any Muslim students out there who just need some guidance, I would say, and who also just need a community, I feel like, which they can rely on, people similar backgrounds as them who can just come together and help them come up with some really, really good ideas.
About to complete my whole year.
All right. I think I'll leave the rest of that video on the website, but I think you get a sense of the types of students who did it and the benefits that they had. So who is this class for? Definitely rising seniors who are feeling the pressure of mounting deadlines. But one of the things is this class is not just for the rising seniors. Ambitious rising juniors, even sophomores who want a head start, right? You're going to have to write these essays. You might be applying for scholarships. You might be applying for internships. And more than anything, since the outcome is not just an essay, it's that clarity and so on. This can really benefit anyone.
And
Students
I
who
would
thrive-
add
Sorry.
that in our marketing, we're talking about seniors and juniors and sophomores, but I would say that for a select few rising freshmen and even middle school students, that this could be a huge benefit. That it's never too early to start thinking about these questions, practicing our writing, and becoming clearer on our purpose, on our qibla. So if you feel like this is for you, it probably is, even if you're younger than the average or younger than the typical.
Nice. So students who thrive with structure, deadlines, and expert feedback, right? I know that I need deadlines. Even putting together a presentation like this, like I need to be day of. I was always that type of person, and it's hard to create internal deadlines, and this will really create deadlines. You're going to be investing in a program to get a result, and it will force you to do that. But then you also have the expert feedback and the support network. Students who feel stuck, unsure of what to write, and a bit overwhelmed, and I'm seeing some of that in the chat. Families who want to invest in their child's long-term success, not just for college, but for life. Success in this world, success in the next, and so on.
I've always believed very strongly that more important than the classes you take are the teachers that we take, and the teachers and the coaches and the mentors that are meaningful in our lives. So if this presentation, if this webinar today left you feeling like you want to learn from Brother Hamzah and myself, then absolutely take this opportunity to be a part of this. Because I think that the right people always end up in the room, whether that's a live event or whether that's a Zoom in a boot camp like this. And if you're feeling that pull that we are folks that you want to learn from and grow with, then listen to that intuition.
So the details. We are doing this boot camp essentially, and it's over the last 2 weeks of July. So the first week is Monday is July 21st, 22nd. Then we'll skip over Wednesday and have the 24th, which is a Thursday. And then the following week, it's going to be on Monday and Tuesday. And I'll talk a little bit about why we structured it in that way instead of doing just 5 straight days and or something else like that. Um, and then the timing for it is going to be for the core boot camp is going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time. I know we do have some West Coast folk here, so I know that would be a little bit early for you.
It's worth waking up for.
But it's worth waking up for, and then you have the whole day ahead of you when you're done with this. I also know that there are some people who probably have conflicts and things like that. And while attending live is definitely where you'll get the most benefit, there is a possibility of everything will be recorded, and we'll have a very nice landing page and system where you can watch those recordings and so on. And then
And
we'll also talk
also,
about
for those that do premium, the additional up to 3 hours of personal feedback with us will be staggered. There will be afternoon time, there will be evening time. So folks that can't do the morning or afternoon will still have that opportunity, if they do premium, for that personal interaction to have their questions answered, their work looked at, etc.
right, and we'll talk more about what premium means in a moment. Um, but the pre-work will begin even ahead of time. So there's a brag sheet that we've put together that we'll be sending out soon to the people who sign up, and that's a way for you to do some pre-work of figuring out a little bit more about who you are. Start thinking some of these big questions. It's also an amazing thing that you can hand to the people who will be writing you recommendation letters, so they can write recommendation letters that really sound like you and capture who you are. Um, the way it's structured, the first, uh, I think one of the things is that a lot of college coaches, a lot of things, they focus just on the playbook. They focus on, the essay and strategies and this and that. And, I have a very vast playbook. I've been doing this for a very long time. But the most important thing of all is the player, right? The player on the field is the one who achieves things. So the first week is really about the player. That's when we're really doing that excavation of our souls and shaking the story tree and getting ideas out, and where we'll be writing a number of what I call zero drafts. This is even before the rough draft, right? This is just getting the ideas out on paper, getting through that need to get it right, get it perfect, just getting the ideas out. And so that's week 3, where we'll be writing, have multiple drafts of different ideas going. And then with that longer break between Thursday to the following Monday, you have a chance to really zero in and choose your actual essay that you really want to polish. That's where in the second week we'll be finalizing that personal statement, and getting a little bit more into the some of the details about how to go from a very good essay to a truly great essay, using all of my years of writing and Josh's expertise as well to try to get you to a place which is really amazing. Um, what's the outcome? So inshallah, a deeper sense of clarity about who you are, what you stand for, both in this world and the next. This powerful personal narrative and mindset that actually, and I don't think this is overstretching, can change the trajectory of your life. A lot of the students that I've worked with have talked about that, how this college process was this focal point that actually really set them on the path towards towards what they ultimately truly were put on this earth to do. A polished standout college essay that reflects all those things, your identity, mission, and voice, and inshallah dramatically increases your chances of getting into your dream school. And then a clear sort of personal brand, to use the language that people like to use, a way to sort of, put all of your 5 years into those 5 minutes, that sort of elevator pitch type thing that can come up and can help you in interviews, help you with scholarships, with internships, various leadership roles, and of course unlock lots of scholarship money, right? Like ultimately, college costs a lot. You're looking at something, the top colleges are now in the $90,000 plus range. Now, obviously, not everyone is paying that, but it's a huge, huge investment. And if you can write essays and position yourself in a way that makes you even more appealing, then and that can shave off literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost for the college, then it's usually a pretty good thing to consider doing. Um, just what some
One thing I
other
just wanted to clarify real quick. Got a question in the Q&A. What if the live sessions don't fit with my schedule? There will be a asynchronous option where the videos of the live sessions are made available, and you can still come in if you do premium for the office hours to ask individual questions. We realize that people have crazy schedules, and the program is designed so that it can work incredibly well, even if you're not able to make it live at the time it's happening. Obviously, live is ideal, but we want to make it work for your schedule, even if the live ones don't.
right. So yeah, to the best of your ability, some people have things that they genuinely cannot get out of. They're in these very top tier internships and other things that they've worked so hard to get, and so on. But other people, like, there may be a way to arrange things. You might be able to come live on most of the days, but not every single day. You can do your best, and even if you can't make it at all, there's still huge benefit. The thing is, when you invest in something like this, you want to get the results. And they say people who pay attention, right? When you do something like this, you want those results. So inshallah, if you're committed to it, then you can get great results, inshallah. So what some people are saying from previous ones, this was an email I got from Osman, who did both Find Your Qibla and later did the college essay bootcamp. Assalamu alaikum. I wanted to let you know that Osman got accepted into UC Berkeley today. This was the last school he was waiting to hear back from. Alhamdulillah for all your hard work and dedication. May Allah reward you for creating your company and your efforts. MashaAllah. This is from a student, Aisha, last year, who was in the boot camp. She had texted her mom, "I'm so glad," and the mom actually sent me a screenshot of her text. "I'm so glad you registered me as well because I don't know where I would have been without that class." She got into Wash U in St. Louis with a full scholarship, so full ride. So, mashallah, that's a great outcome. Obviously, I never want to take credit for kids' results. Like this college application is such a complicated, multifaceted process. We're just there as guides to help you bring out the best version of yourself and hope to help you get those results. So as Josh mentioned, we have two tiers. We have the essential tier and premium. So what's included in essential? 5 days of live coaching. So those 15 plus hours, so that 9 to 12 every day for 5 days with us. The brag sheet is something that will really help you, and like I said, help you get great recommendation letters. The support of being in a cohort, being in a group of other writers, other people going through this process, can be incredibly powerful, and we will try to get you talking to each other in breakout rooms and other things. And then you also get access to the recordings. For Essential, it's a 30-day access to the recording, so essentially until the end of August. And one of the reasons we do that is because we do want you to write your essays this summer. This is not something you want to just, yeah, I took that class and I can look at it whenever. We want you to get that. For premium, you get everything in Essential, plus we have daily personal feedback hours. So that's when Josh will have some slots and I'll have some slots, usually 90-minute slots. And like we said, we'll try to put those at different times of the day, in the afternoon and the evening, so that people whose schedules are a little bit different will be able to come. And that's where you can get the live feedback. I think you heard in the video, you heard lots of people talk office hours, office hours, office hours, right? That's the time where you get a lot of feedback on your own writing. Um, the other premium, another premium benefit is a 360-degree strategy session. So this is a live one-on-one meeting with either Josh or with me, where we look at your essay, we look at your college list, we look at your overall strategy. And also during that meeting, we can explore if longer term support might be right for you, right? Because obviously, we're working with you for 5 days, but we work with students, for in much more comprehensive ways, and this is something we can talk about during that time. And you get lifetime access to the recordings. So that's sort of different. So instead of 15 hours, it's more like 30 hours with Josh and me, and then some one-on-one attention as well.
Especially some of the questions that we've been getting from younger clients in the Q&A on is this a good idea if I'm in sixth grade and eighth grade? One of the great things if you do the premium and get the recordings is you still have access to them years later when you're actually doing your final versions.
All right, so there are some other exclusive bonuses for bootcamp students. I had a student who was actually a mentor in last year's bootcamp, who, when he was applying to college, he wanted to go to Harvard or Stanford. He wanted to get the Coca-Cola scholarship, and he went on this LinkedIn grind, and he wrote to hundreds of people who had achieved these things. And for those who responded, he set up a Zoom, met with them, and then asked them for their essays and asked them for their advice. And he put it together in a book that, is pretty much, this is the only place you can get it, other than buying it directly from him, and he charges quite a lot for it. I licensed a sort of lifetime license for our clients, so you get access to that. Halal ChatGPT prompt bank. The reality is we do live in an AI world, and while you absolutely should not have AI write your essay, that would be a very big mistake. There are ethical ways to use AI, and I've sort of put a lot of those prompts together in a way that students have told me was extremely beneficial. I'll let Josh talk about this next one.
So while, like Brother Hamzah, I also help folks with the admissions process. Where I got my start and where I do the bulk of my business is with SAT coaching. And while the essay is an absolutely crucial part of the college application, the SAT, unfortunately, is still just as important a part. So what I wanted to do as a thank you for everyone being part of this program is to offer a complimentary SAT class where you would each take a real SAT practice test and then be able to go over in real time the questions that you got wrong, questions you got right but got lucky, and use those questions as a beginning of a conversation about what the SAT tests, how it tests, and to give you an opportunity to really kickstart your process of improving your score. My average client goes up 249 points. My record is 550 points. So whether you're a senior who may take it one or two more times in August, September, October, whether you're someone who's younger and who's just getting started, this will be a free bonus that helps you really accelerate your progress in mastering the SAT.
Yep. And obviously there are a lot of SAT coaches out there, including within our community, and they all do a wonderful job. But I have referred a number of clients over the years to Josh, and I would say I haven't met anyone who is more helpful for students in this area of standardized testing, not just for the results which they get, but also for the personal growth that they experience. And I think that's the big difference. Again, focus on not just the playbook but the player, and he really puts them both together really well. And then of course you get private WhatsApp support, so for sort of anytime questions and things like that. So just a couple more things that people said from last year. I just recently got an update from a student who did the boot camp last year. Is going to Cornell for atmospheric science. They actually had already written a college essay when they came, but the email was quite a bit longer. They talked about how the boot camp transformed their essay that they had, and really made a tremendous difference. That was the message from Zoya getting into UPenn. Neda talked about the brainstorming and the authenticity, and the Islamic aspects, and this student, talked about the office hours and so on. And again, a lot of them were talking to me because I was doing the bulk of it. I was sort of the figurehead, but now we have, two real experts and so on. So obviously the question that I'm sure you guys have is what's the tuition, what's the investment, and so on. So we will go over that, on this sheet. Um, so this talks about everything that's in these different tiers, and you can see that premium obviously has everything. The other one, the bonuses are also the same for everyone. The big differences between the two is the amount of essay feedback that you're getting, because you're getting 15 extra hours of essay feedback in the office hours and so on, and then that sort of 360 degree review. Those are the big differences between the two tiers. But because you've come to the webinar and so on, we do have some ways to sweeten the deal a little bit. So we have an early bird discount. So this is something for those of you who are going to be signing up early. We don't actually have a lot of time. We only have about 2 weeks before this starts. So this is something that's going to be good until Sunday. You can get $200 off either tier, essential or premium. Essentially, the way you do it is at checkout, you just use the coupon code earlybird, and that will take $200 off of your thing. And then the major bonus, which Josh alluded to earlier, which is only available for people who not only came but stayed live, we still have 130 plus people here, is this one.
Which is amazing considering that we've gone over.
Yeah. So this live webinar bonus, biggest offer ever. So the first 3 people to enroll in the premium bootcamp today, right, will get it for the price of the essential tier. So that's an $800 discount. Okay, so that means you get full premium access, all those benefits for just the regular price of $997. There's only 3 of these, so it's sort of first come first served. If you're pretty sure that you want to do this, I would highly recommend, as soon as I give you the link of considering to go and lock that in now so that you can get that. The code for that one, and this will be on the next sheet, is live premium.
We've got several folks in the Q&A asking, do we recommend this program for middle school students? And I say it highly depends on the student. But if the student is someone who would benefit from kickstarting not just their growth as a writer, but their growth as a person, if they're excited about the idea of thinking about college and thinking about themselves and their goals and their dreams, then I think for the right middle schooler, I think this could be extremely valuable.
So I've just put the this link in the chat. This is where you can actually purchase. This will take you to the checkout page. I can show you this in 1 second, but essentially the 2 coupon codes are either early bird, which will save $200. That one's good for 5 days. The live webinar one, that's the premium price, premium for the price of essential. That's the $800 discount. That one is it's I don't know when it will disappear, because as soon as
May take moments.
Yeah.
But regardless of whether you're doing premium or whether you're doing the regular, we really look forward to working with you and helping you to grow. But just appreciate so much how attentive you guys have been as an audience, the fantastic questions that you've asked tonight. I feel like I've grown tonight just from this webinar in interacting with, listening to, and interacting with you guys.
So, and this is the checkout page, pretty standard stuff that you'd imagine. These are the two choices for the only tricky thing that they make it difficult to. Where do you put the coupon code? I always get this question. So once you have filled everything in, you have to click the summary button. It's like they're trying to hide it, which I don't particularly appreciate, but I don't know how to change it. And that's where you put the coupon. So you'd say early bird, um, and
Live premium.
it will. You have to put everything in before it works. Or live premium is the other one that you could put here. So that's how these all work. Um, I do want to address a couple of other common questions that we get. The link for this, oh, is it not a hyperlink? That's really annoying. Can we hyperlinkify that? Wait, I was just, let me, I don't know why. There we go. Now it has the hyperlink in the chat. Um, and obviously the QR code's there. Questions that we get. What if we can't make it live? I think we've covered that. Everything will be recorded. You can certainly catch up on the recordings. Even if you do make it live, you'll have access to them either for 30 days or forever. Who's the boot camp not for? You want to take that, Josh?
It's not for someone who doesn't want to do the work. If it's someone who just wants to be told, write this point by point, if it's someone who wants somebody else to do it for them, then this isn't for you and you're not our kind of client. It's for someone who wants to do that deeper exploration of who you are, why you're here, what your qibla is, what your purpose is, and how that fits in with the college process. It's not for someone who just isn't ready to focus on what college is actually the right fit. If someone is so fixated on, I want to get into this school because it's the most prestigious school and I don't really care about whether it's the fit for me, then this probably isn't going to be the right program for you. But it's about someone who really wants to go to a school and wants to engage in the rest of their life in a way that lines up with their values.
All right, then a question, do you offer any sort of financial aid? And the answer is yes, and I'm going to go over that on the next slide. We very much believe in equity. We never want finances to be the reason that keep you away. So in cases of genuine need, not just, I don't really want to spend the money, I don't see the value, and so on. That's not good. But when there's genuine need, which there is, I talk to families all the time who are struggling. We support you, and I'll tell you how that works on the next slide. And then, is there a possibility of working with Brother Hamzah and Josh one-on-one beyond the boot camp? And the answer to that is also yes. We have our Find Your Qibla Cubed program. Incidentally, this boot camp is included, and we may have people in the audience, as a bonus itself for anyone who's in our Find Your Qibla Squared program, our long-term support program. This is one of the bonuses, so a close to $2,000 bonus that they get from just being in that program itself. But and the other thing is, if you do choose to work with us longer term, if you choose to do that same program, Find Your Qibla Cubed, then any money that you've invested in this program will get reduced from the tuition of that program. But we can talk about that much more. The pay what you can. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat that hopefully is functional. My teammate who was building it just texted me like about 5 minutes ago saying it's functional, and one of the reasons I've been stalling a little bit, so I appreciate that. But so this is a pay what you can thing. So we've set aside some spots. It's built into the ethos of Five Before College. I believe in giving you world-class service, and that's why I find world-class people like Josh, and why I'm doing something that I'm so passionate about that I've been spending 20 years doing. I think one of the biggest issues we have within the Muslim community is we want these world-class institutions, but then we don't fund them. Like we don't put money into our Islamic schools and other things. I believe in producing premium products, but I also don't want that to leave people in the dark. So people, you might qualify for this if you get free or reduced lunch, if you're on SNAP benefits, if you live in public housing, if you've received SAT or ACT or college application fee waivers, or there's some more general topics. Your family's just going through a tough time. Maybe your income was higher, but there's some job loss, there's medical bills, there's a sick family member, or just full tuition just isn't possible right now, right? We try to leave it open. I've put in the chat a form that looks like this. And essentially, again, I haven't actually seen this. You just put your name in. Um, Let me just. I'm seeing this for the first time myself. Um, I'm just gonna do that. Talk about yourself. Um, okay. In a few sentences, can you tell us a bit about your financial situation and why a pay what you can spot? This is an important question. Okay, like you're asking for something, so all we ask you to do is to share what's going on and why this would make a big difference for your family. So you put your answers there. Don't just do what I just did. And then it will ask you a very simple question, right? How much would your family be able to pay for the boot camp? And again, we're a high trust environment and so on. We want you to, people who, want this and can't necessarily pay the full tuition. You can do this. What I would say is, people who pay attention, and then at the end, it will give you a special code that will allow you to pay what you can. So we tried to make it very, very simple, automated, and so on. We do this because we are a high trust environment and so on. And I hope that you appreciate the ethos and so on, but also that you respect it for what it is. So I'm so excited. I see some comments just enrolled. Can't wait for this. An amazing program. Mashallah, that's very, very exciting. Can't wait. I never can see the things coming in when I'm during this. I love when I leave and you see orders and things like that. It's always very very exciting. So yeah, so we are already quite a bit over time and so on. Maybe we could just have some wrap up thoughts. I will save this Q&A and look at those questions. Certainly we'll answer a lot of those questions during the boot camp itself. And maybe in some of the emails that we put out in the upcoming days. Do you want to give any wrap up thoughts, Josh?
Just that I'm really glad and excited with the energy and the participation of the group. I really do hope many of you will join us for the boot camp because I think if you guys show up, it's going to be an amazing experience because it's not just about what the two of us bring, but it's about what you bring. It's about your stories, your dreams, your focus, and what you bring to the boot camp is truly what's going to make the boot camp great. So I'm excited that this is the beginning of our interaction and hopeful that it's not the end.
Yes, 100%. Couldn't say it better. So excited. Like I absolutely love what I do. Doing this work, I found my qibla. I became Muslim when I was 15 years old, and I realized that I've devoted my whole life to helping teenagers have similarly transformative experiences. And the fact that you can do it now and work with people from all over the country, all over the world in this room. It's one of the miracles of this modern age and modern technology. Of course, I wish we could all be in person, and inshallah we will do retreats. Josh and I have been talking about doing a retreat together as well. But you know, the fact of the matter is we can, spending 30 hours together, you can get quite a lot done. So we are really, really excited for this. And with that, I think we can bring it to a close.
And
Jazakallah
also
khair.
just apologies to anyone whose questions we didn't get to. They were coming fast and furious through the evening. So I'm hopeful that we were able to answer many of your questions, or if not directly, that your questions were answered and how we answered others' questions. We try to do some live, some that I typed answers to throughout. But if you do still have questions that we have not answered, please do reach out to us.
And I am actually putting in the chat both my email and my WhatsApp number.
You can
if
feel free
you
to put
have-
mine also. For some reason, it's not letting me type in the chat other than to hosts and panelists.
Huh, yeah, that's so interesting. You want me to put? Is your email just josh.aronovich?
Josh.aronovich@gmail. And my WhatsApp is 856-341-0503.
Uh, 856-341-0503.
That's right.
Okay. So if you have any,
Aronovich is TCH.
oh,
ICH.
uh,
And it's not Josh, it's Josh.Aronovich.
I think we may have been spelling that wrong consistently. So it has a T.
Yes.
My mistake. All right. Thank you all so much. We will send a recording. We'll put this information again. I don't know if the live webinar bonus is still alive, but if it is, then I would definitely jump on that now. Yeah,
Thank you all.
sounds good. Thank you
Have a
all,
great
and we
night and
really
see you soon.
appreciate. And we'll talk to you next time. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.